Now we're going to talk about include statements and require statements, and we're dealing with a lot of different files here, not just one file. We're making things modular. So we have an include folder within our functions folder, and these files are now open in here. And then we have the include and require statements open. We'll do them together because they're both pretty close to each other. And normally you would have an include statement in the main root of your folder, your site structure, but you can have it nested as well. You just want to keep an eye on the actual path that you're going to go after. And we're going to use single quotes. This is going to help us just to have the different slashes in there without any problems. And the dot here means use the folder where you're at. This file is in a certain folder. Use that folder and then go to the additional folder inside that structure and find that file. You could use dot dot, which means go up one folder and then find the folder. And you can use that in combination as you need to. But we'll see functions and include statements and things like that throughout the training, and I'll explain the path structure that we need to use in these examples, and you can use them as you need to. So include statements allow us to put code into separate files and then use them as if they were in the same file where you use the include statement. Now the difference between include and require is simple. Include is going to try to continue if there are any warnings that are going to show up, and you can see the comments that I have up here. Require is going to give a fatal error if a warning is going to show up. It's not going to allow you to do something, and that could be that you didn't find a function, for example. If we change the function name and go into the require statement, well, we have a fatal error, and it's going to stop at line 29. As you can see here, it stopped, but not after it did a little bit of work. So we'll put that back. There's no function, my function 1, so that's the fatal error. Undefined function, my function 1. So we could put that up here, for example. Doesn't have to be nice and neat. And then you see we have a fatal error. It stops. That's a fatal error. If you had something like a warning as well, it would stop and not let you continue. And if we use the include statement, for example, and then redefine something, for example, it's going to allow it to continue. So let's say we just mess up this path here. So it doesn't find the file. And then we hit the include. Well, it did one warning, it did another warning, and then it tried to keep going. Let's see what happens when we do that with the require. Because you can't find that file, of course. It's a warning, but then it just stops. So this is trying to keep going and continue with the file. So you might want to use the require. It's better off if you don't want those warnings to be displayed. Development mode for include, require for production. And when you use include once, this won't allow you to redefine functions, meaning that if you have the same function name or you try to redefine or include another file, another include file, well, you're going to get an error or a problem or something. But if you do include once, then you can see we call this twice and we don't see any problems. But if you use the regular include, and if you look at func1 and func2, you'll see that we have the same function, just additional variables here. So we'll call that. We're still getting warnings, but at the same time, we have to check to make sure, yes, we took care of the path. Back here, it's not finding that file in your include file, so we have to fix that one first. On line 13, that's because we have no dot, so we need the dot. But you can see it tried to continue, not good. There we go, fatal error, can't redeclare my function. It was previously declared, and it's telling you where it was actually, so you have to keep that in mind. Look at this and then look at this and find out where your problem is. So it's going to be outside of your page. But it might not be because basically you don't want to include something again. And that's going to really be something that you need to take note of. So we see in functions too, of course, we have a couple of variables here. myvar, mynum. And we're going to echo that out. Make sure we have no errors, none. And you can see that those variables are included and they're used, they're set. So even functions can be used, but also anything that you set there can be taken care of. And then you can see the functions called without a problem. And it's telling you that it's called from function 2. If we go to func2, you can see that we have an echo that's telling us where it's coming from. So that's where that came from. So it echoed some things out, and you can see the usefulness of having include and require. Like I said, you want to use require most of the time. And like I said also, you want to use require once or include once, so you don't have to worry about the redefinition. So I just use include once here, but you could write that in the require statement over here and not worry about it. Write it over here in this file. Require once statement, and then you're all set. There you go. So we're going to see many different ways to use this, and it's exciting to be able to do this. You can process these examples as you need to and see more advanced examples as we move into the database section, for example.